Musta is a multi-sensory, experiential journey that takes the audience through immersive spaces that unravels the inner workings of depression and mental health difficulties.
To me, I find it very brave and encouraging because an issue about mental health is very relevant. It's a conversation right now, and it gives the information out there that something is happening and there's something we can do about it.
The goal of the production is to encourage greater awareness about depression and about mental health. But it's actually more than just awareness. By putting the contraction of the Filipino word kamusta, how are you, or musta, as a title, it intends to interrogate the kind of relationships that we form within our communities, within our societies.
When it comes to technical and the creative process, it was actually really fun and of course busy, because we had a lot of installations, but we also got challenging part of the technical and designing of the production itself. Is we actually used recycled bottles, the garbage bags and all that.
A lot about this production that's very new and very uncommon about any production that involves story, because it requires the audience to participate willingly and with a sense that they can choose how quickly they want to go through the story or how deeply they want to be involved in the story.
I feel great. I feel very, as a Benilde student, I feel very honored to be part of an event such as this, because it really provides us a training ground for our education. In here, we really learn by doing, and that's the beauty that Benilde does.
So I'm actually grateful for having this kind of events, because I'm able to portray my abilities as an arts manager. I'm able to communicate and connect with people, not only communicate with people, but also be able to know more about the production itself. You get to involve in the production, and it's really great.
Musta tells a story about depression, but it's more than just that. We want people to be aware of themselves. We want people to be aware of other people, be mindful of their experiences, so that they will have an idea on how to live life each and every single moment of it.
Quarter. Well, as I've read it beforehand, I thought the whole performance is a dance. Maybe this is unique because dito sa quarter, it's a combination of the stage and as well as where the audience is situated.
It is staged in a way where the audience has a very up-close and personal relationship with the artists who are performing. What I wanted to do is to have the gap between the audience and the performer to disappear, so that one can be part of their life and really experience what an artist goes through.
Pagod. Damdamin. Sugat.
It is unique because our intention was really to immerse the audience in our space, and this space is sacred to dancers, and that's the only way for the audience to feel our world. The audience can feel our energy, our emotions, just basically being in our space.
Maganda to sa choir kasi lahat organized, lahat may disiplina. Bilang performer na rin sa isang quarter show, siyempre kailangan ko i-attach lahat ng life based on my experiences and behind my story in my life. Ipakita mo kung sino ka para at least you're welcome to everywhere.
It's quite challenging at first, but habang nagtutuloy-tuloy yung performances, I get to discover many things in acting, in performance, and as well as Being here in the production is very overwhelming kasi maraming learnings na makukuha in the performances, in the show. All of the things that I've been saying throughout the production, throughout the show, is improvisation. So I don't know what will happen. I just know how to end, but how to get there is quite challenging. It has many obstacles, but I really enjoy. Quarter really motivated me to use this performance art to serve other people, to inspire them to go with their challenges or obstacles in their life.
The beauty about Benilde is that we as educators and artist practitioners, we want our students to experience whatever we're teaching them in the flesh, in 3 dimensions. So when we have our students be part of productions like this, they are actually doing things, and we require them to be creative when they find solutions. In Quartered, the artist is given importance, the artistic expression, creativity is given. We want to encourage our students to think creatively, to be committed to the creative process, and I hope that's the message that people understand when they watch Quartered.
Quartered. Well, as I've read it beforehand, I thought the whole performance is a dance. Maybe this is unique because dito sa quarter, it's a combination of the stage and as well as where the audience is situated.
It is staged in a way where the audience has a very up-close and personal relationship with the artists who are performing. What I wanted to do is to have the gap between the audience and the performer to disappear so that one can be part of their life and really experience what an artist goes through.
Pagod. Damdamin. Sugat.
It is unique because our intention was really to immerse the audience in our space, and this space is sacred to dancers, and that's the only way for the audience to feel our world. The audience can feel our energy, our emotions, just basically be in our space.
Maganda dito sa quarter kasi lahat organized, lahat may disiplina. Bilang performer na rin sa isang quarter show, siyempre kailangan ko i-attach lahat ng life based on my experiences and behind my story in my life. Ipakita mo kung sino ka para at least you're welcome to everywhere.
It's quite challenging at first, but habang nagtutuloy-tuloy yung performances, I get to discover many things in acting, in performance, and as well as being here in the production is very overwhelming kasi maraming learnings na makukuha in the performances, in the show. All of the things that I've been saying throughout the production, throughout the show, is improvisation. So I don't know what will happen. I just know how to end, but how to get there is quite challenging. It has many obstacles, but I really enjoy. Quarter really motivated me to use this performance art to serve other people, to inspire them to go with their challenges or obstacles in their life.
The beauty about Benilde is that we as educators and artist practitioners, we want our students to experience whatever we're teaching them in the flesh, in 3 dimensions. So when we have our students be part of productions like this, they are actually doing things, and we require them to be creative when they find solutions. In Quartered, the artist is given importance, the artistic expression, creativity is given. We want to encourage our students to think creatively, to be committed to the creative process, and I hope that's the message that people understand when they watch Quartered.
Recalibrated is an event where teachers from the Design Foundation subjects in Benilde get together and get to show off their masterpieces, and at the same time get to know more about each other.
It is a presentation, exhibition of the works of the faculty of Design Foundation.
This exhibit also challenges the idea of virtual reality and real-time reality.
Art is a very important way in which people can come together, but it's also very important for the individual to have a sense of self-expression and a vision.
It's been also challenging because we get to see parts of each other that we haven't seen before, but all in all, it's been a fun experience.
Let me be the change I want to see. to do with strength and wisdom all that needs to be done, and become the hope that I can be. Set me free from my fears and hesitations. Grant me courage and humility. Give me the spirit to face the challenge and start the change I long to see. Today I start the change I want to see. Even if I'm not the light, I can be the spark in faith, service and communion. Let us start the change we want to see, the change that begins in me. Today I start the change I want to see. Even if I'm not the light, I can be the spark in faith, service and communion. Let us start the change we want to see, the change that begins here in me. Live Jesus in our hearts forever.
Mayang magiliw, pero sa silangan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lumang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiging, sa manlulupig, di ka masisi. Sa dagat at mundong sa simoy at sa langit mamahal, may nilagang tulad, awit sa panlayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdinilig. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng buwan, ating pagsinta mo ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya lamang may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start, I want to review the functionality of this webinar. Please use your complete names on your screens for easy identification. We will be recording this webinar for our documentation purposes. Right now, we have everyone on mute mode to avoid background noises. Let us refer to the succeeding videos for today's prayer to be followed by the national anthem. Welcome everyone to BenildeBaccTalks2021, Tall Tales of Traveling Scholarist. I am Magda De Leon, the Associate Dean of Benilde's Arts and Culture Cluster. Let me now introduce our speaker who hardly needs any introduction to most of us here. She's a writer, thespian, film artist, arts advocate, educator, scholar, and our former Associate Dean, Dr. Sunita S. Mukhi. She will share her creative journey and impart expert advice as an artist, wanderer, and an academic in an online lecture. Before that, we would also like to introduce our interpreter, Mr. William Sidayon and Ms. Andrea Faustino. Hi, Doc Suni.
Hello. Hello, everybody. What a treat for me to feel your warm smiles. Albeit we are missing eye contact, a handshake, even hugs. You know I'm Sunita Mukhi, and I cheekily add Dr. Sunita Mukhi on occasions like these in solidarity with all other PhDs who've had to defend their claim to that prefix. You, like my students and colleagues who have sweetly christened me, can call me Doc Suni. This is the first of BaccTalks, a series of discussions, presentations, and productions on the creative interventions and inventions that engage the arts, the artists, the artistic, and their impact on us. It is an initiative by Benilde's Arts and Culture Cluster of the School of Design and Arts of De La Salle College of St. Benilde, Manila, Philippines. I say that because we have a number of people here who are from different parts of the world who have taken the time to join us. Thank you very much. This talk is a bit of a sadomasochism, since we have been on varied lockdowns since March of 2020, not being able to travel, fearing to travel, since we don't know whether we can return home, and worse, we may contract that dread virus in our forays to and from. So we quarantine, don a mask and shield, and wash to battle this ambiguous, deathly virus. It reminds me of a joke that my sister and I invented in the beginning of the lockdowns, using our humor to assuage our befuddlement and fear. Travel Dreaming by Sujata Mukhi.
Who says I can't travel? I have coffee in Portugal. I'll buy my groceries from the supermarket. I will roam around my house, grease my pants. I Singapore every day, loading up on caramel candies. I Taiwan one shoelace at a time. And I go pretty often from Baño City to Cuarto Princesa. Those last two are not mine. I'll do some acrobatics a la polecat just before going to Camarines Norte. And you, where have you traveled lately?
And my response, I now have lots of time to split hairs over this and that, gaze at my naval, undo those bohols, and not Russia around. But let us also check in once in a while, yes? To keep in Tunisia with each other and be nice to all, so we don't Maldives into hell. Thank you, Sujata. But today, I persist to share with you my travels as a scholarist that I have been lucky to have undergone just before we could not travel in the before times, as my colleague and friend Dr. Nerissa Balse Cortes of Stony Brook University's Asian American Studies laments, quote unquote, before times. I wish I could lay claim to inventing that term scholarist. I use it in the audacious spirit of my co-performance studies alums, Doctors Joseph Shahadi, Mila Aponte Gonzalez, and Amagarti Tago Kutin, and other scholar artists who first developed the term while part of the NYU program in performance studies in the mid-2000s. In Dr. Ama's words, a scholarist bridges the misperceived gaps between theory and practice, body and the mind, academia and the arts entertainment. I would also say the gap between body and the heart and the mind. 2019 was glorious. In the before times, I found myself in Malta, Venice, Verona, Hawaii, Bangladesh. All somewhat official, representing Benilde in conferences and learning missions as such. Of course, I enjoyed myself even as I presented and performed and was nervous about it all. I was, after all, meeting people who, like me, wanted to share their experience and learn from each other. They were chosen by committees, sent in full trust and sometimes in full sponsorship by their institutions. These were opportunities to work it, strut their stuff, churn art and knowledge, art as knowledge. Today, though, I shall limit my stories to my travels to Verona and Venice for a conference on storytelling and the body. That's such a sexy title, isn't it? Part two will involve Benilde's participation in a conference in Honolulu, the paradisic Hawaii, where I had the opportunity to fulfill, in humble ways, my aspirations as scholarist and deeply satisfy my peripatetic urges. My eyes adore you at the Storytelling and the Body Conference in Verona. Enticed by Teresa Cristina Della Torre, or Techi as we call her, who sent me an email about this conference, and knowing that I had some stories to tell, I submitted a proposal on an interactive project that I had originally done in New York, where I had sojourned for 26 years, for the Dumbo Arts Festival that was produced by the South Asian Women's Creative Collective, and again performed at the Altro Mundo Gallery for Recalibrations exhibition by Benilde's Design Foundation. Can we show the next slide, please? Yes. This is people. I performed this piece also in Manila. Invoking the great Leonard Cohen in this uplifting song, The Lyric. Can we show the lyric, please? There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. My eyes adore you, compelled by audience participants and I to grapple with the contentious, uplifting, complex concept of beauty. Through a live, interactive, improvised performance in which I invited people to come to me like a fortune teller with the endearment, "You are beautiful to me," and urge them to confess the one aspect of their physical appearance that they most revile. In turn, I shower them with compliments, beginning with, "My eyes adore you, you are beautiful to me," and improvise on why this person's so-called flaw is actually an asset. Invoking another story, if you will, to transform it into a thing of beauty. I compliment them in the kindest voice while maintaining eye contact, excavating historical, folk, and contemporary notions of physical attributes, beauty, and well-being from various other cultures. This is like the Japanese art of kintsugi, mending broken pottery with gold, silver, or platinum, thus enriching the flaw and incorporating it as part of the design of the bowl. As you can imagine, the engagements could have gotten risky, exhausting, or quite fulfilling for both of us. But believe me when I say that at times, tall tales had to be churned to be persuasive. My theatrical improv skill had to be fully sharpened. Plus, of course, I had to mean it and not to be mean at all. Even if the person had rotting teeth or thought too much of themselves or was less than attractive. So this is what happened in Verona. Tell me a part of yourself that you revile. And together we will make it of beauty. Who will go first? A part of your physical self. Yes.
Yes, my knees.
Your knees. Tell me what is the issue with your knees?
They're too big and they're not the way I want them to be longer and more refined.
Okay. Please accept first of all that my eyes adore you and that you are beautiful to me. Now this lady has big knees. Okay, that's what she said. Now these knees hold you up well, right?
They're strong.
They're strong and you can walk. And you do things. And you're active, what I understand from you. So these big knees are necessary to carry that body of yours that works and changes the world. So please do accept that your big knees, though they are not the slender, arthritic knees of an anorexic model, your knees hold you up so that you can do your work as a woman of the world and a woman of substance. Yes? You accept?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, wonderful. Any other confessions? A part of you that you revere?
Yes.
Yes.
My foot.
Tell me about your foot.
I wish I had smaller feet, not so long, where I have to buy an 8.5 size. I wish I could wear 7.
Okay, so you have big feet. In ancient cultures, you know, especially in Chinese, they would bind those feet, break them, so that they would not be 7 inches, but 2.5 to 3 inches. You are lucky you are not in that generation of women who had to go through that because beautiful feet were small. They were called lotus feet. And you don't want that, okay? You want a big lotus pond, just like Our Lady, the muddy pond. And your feet have served you well, as her knees have. They're big feet, and 8.5 is not such a big size because mine is 9.5 onwards. My mother used to call them camel's feet. And I'm happy for them because they carry us, again, in our journey in life as a woman of substance. Remember that. Small feet, small distances. You need to have a smaller carriage, a lighter body. And in our work in the world, women have to continue to do great things. Feet firmly on the ground. The bigger the feet, the more ground you cover. So you should be happy for your feet. My eyes adore you. You are beautiful too.
Thank you.
We can
Okay.
stop the video now. Thank you. We can stop the video.
Apart, any of the
So it goes on. The performance went on for about 20 or 30 minutes, listening to everybody confess their parts, their body parts that they didn't like. And on the spot, I had to think of a way of making them look great. So these refurbished tales were met with some gratitude. A woman who had been hefty all her life, for example, felt validated by the whole exercise and affirmed that her current husband loved her in all her glory. And she treated me to dinner too. So we were 2 gentle women having a gala time in Verona. Speaking of fabricating tall tales, Verona also boasts of a wonderful gem called Juliet's Balcony. Yes, Shakespeare's Juliet has a balcony in Verona, as if she really lived there, as if she really existed, as if she was a true Veronese native. Mind you, the bed she slept in, her clothes, where she ate are on display for you to savor. And most importantly, an opportunity for you to write her a letter consoling her about love and some such. And there is a claim that your letters will be answered. It is now 2021 and almost Valentine, and I have not gotten any response yet from any of her secretaries. I'm waiting. An immersive experience in a pure Elizabethan fiction in a Veronese venue. But one can willingly suspend disbelief, right? And enjoy the fantasy.
I just remembered Juliet did commit suicide. So who's answering? Anyway, as far as the storytelling conference went, indeed the number of participants were limited to 30, so it was intimate, intense, small. I like that because then you could really discuss and talk. They came from far-flung places and exchanged stories and ideas from all other continents. In fact, the conference was so casual that I had to find my own table to prop myself on. Of course, with the help of the Sinhalese bellhop who prepared it all for me. Yes, there are Sri Lankan immigrants even in Verona. The smallness of this conference made the significance of where I found myself even larger. Just a few days ago, I had visited Venice, Venice, one of the vital centers of Renaissance mercantilism and art. It is only a 2-hour ride anyway. In fact, mirroring the smallness of this conference, I had witnessed with much delight what was described as an opera in a teacup. An abridged version of Verdi's La Traviata was performed in 3 opulent salons of the refurbished Palazzo Barbarigo Minotto by the Musica a Palazzo Ensemble. You like my Italian? They gave us Prosecco for refreshments too, but best of all, that fallen woman of the camellias gave me a peck on the cheek as she made her sweeping entrance as if I was one of the guests at her dinner party. Wow. By the way, people, they are open for business, but with strict protocols. That is, if we can even travel. Told you the Zoominar is too cruel, too cruel. Nevertheless, contrasting this minute opera performance and my minute interactive participation in that storytelling conference, my breath was taken away by 2 other monumental artistic productions. I watched a tremendous dance performance by Roberto Bolle at the Verona Arena. I was trembling with the knowledge that this structure was built in the 1st century and could accommodate 15,000 to 30,000 people, depending on the staging. The Ludi Romana, the ancient Roman theater festival, happened here. Shows and sports attracting people from all over the Roman state. In contemporary times, world-renowned musicians have held their concerts here, like Adele in 2016, Paul McCartney in 2013, even One Direction when they were all going in the same direction in 2012. Leonard Cohen, whom I quoted earlier, also performed here in 2012. And now, as I was watching Roberto Bolle, who was up until 2019 the principal dancer of the American Ballet Theater, and now he has returned to his homeland. While you watch this clip, I shall quote from Roberto's website that is also repeated in the Verona Arena website. Please play the clip. Oh, yes, this is it. An event which was turned to ready to repeat the extraordinary success with the arena packed every time with admirers in ecstasy of their idol, and the greatest performance from top international companies. It was a combination of ballet, classical ballet, and contemporary dance with this beautiful dancer, Roberto Bolle, and his friends.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
This is one of my favorite dance pieces. As I sit here with you recalling, I can say that I was there. I saw this with my own two eyes in the flesh. And the tall tale is that I performed in the same city as this great artist. Yeah, I'm that kind of nerd. Okay, we can stop the. Yes, thank you. But on an even more personal note, I had watched this performance on my mama's birthday, July 17. Perhaps that is why there is a full moon. Our family has always believed that mama is our full moon, having been a devotee of it when she was alive. And here she is beaming from the heavens at all of us, and the screens on the stage are replicating the full moon. They're like two eyes. She's looking at all of us, or maybe at Roberto Bolle. Mama? Anyways, another monumental production that made my head spin was the Venice Biennale. Huge installations from international artists representing their nations spoke of artistic excellence and social critique. Benilde had collaborated a year earlier with architect Ed Cabalfin and was represented there. I could not attend then, but I had made a beeline for the Philippine installation by Mark Justiniani entitled Island Weather. It was immersive, boggling my perception of depth and making the fear of drowning palpable. And of course, I played around in the Indian pavilion, wearing a costume, looking at wooden thongs that hermits wear in celebration of Mahatma Gandhi. There I am with my costume. I was enthralled by the Saudi installation that was manned, excuse the pun, by two young Arab women. One of them, before she took the picture with us, had to wear her hijab since she was representing. Intriguingly, the installation After Illusion by Zara Hamidi used leather to make it look like coral in the desert. It was stunning. These interlocking hands could be seen up and down the river. Entitled Building Bridges by Lorenzo Quinn, I would like to think it counterbalanced the title of the 2019 Biennale. As you can see, the title is May You Live in Interesting Times. Thanks for that oracular curse, Venice Biennale. How did you know that 2020 would be so bloody interesting? I guess the interlocking hands remind us that we are all in this together, yes? And that was my Verona, Venice adventure. With the support and blessings of my dear Vice Chancellor Geronio Olayo and SDA Dean Acela Domingo, who I believe is here with us, and the supreme talents of Benilde's dance department, we were able to share ourselves with over 30 noted scholars and experts across the globe for a look at the historical views and contemporary themes informing cultural dance today. Participants were immersed in the rich knowledge of culture-based dance through conferences, speakers, presentations, panels, workshops, and performances in a collegial, lush environment, fostering collaboration, sharing, and building of relationships. All this in paradise. We performed dance stories of magnificence and joy, as well as presented a scholarly paper entitled Intimacy and Inclusion in response to the theme Ohala, to waken, Ho'ala, to waken. Benilde was to waken in Hawaii, no less, an American state that sat at the cross currents of the Pacific, Asian culture, and the United States statehood. A hybrid, complex, and rich state, both in natural resources and culture. And this time, I had Erica Arandes and Emerson Evangelio, dance majors, to make this adventure even more vibrant and vital. Here are highlights of what we did. Can you please show the clip? In the dead of the dark night, when he thought no one was seeing, he practiced. It looked like he had made up his own dance, which Brown Fox observed, and with some pity and mischief again, attempted to learn White Lion's clumsy dance. Just so to keep him company, they would laugh together, and in friendship, they would dance. There was a call for papers for this Asia Pacific Dance Festival that happens every year in the University of Hawaii in Honolulu. But this was the first time they were having a conference aspect to it. And so I decided that I would like for Benilde to be represented. So I sent a proposal. And I sent a proposal for a paper. And I also sent a proposal for a performance about the dance innovations that we do here in Benilde, entitled Intimacy and Inclusion, which was dance stories of magnificence and joy. And fortunately, both were accepted. And I had two students, Erica and Emerson, interpret the dance with the choreography of Christine Kramer. And I also didn't want to do it just on stage. I wanted it to be amidst nature, because the stories are about the triumph of nature. She fluttered, she flew, she flitted. She flew, she flitted, she fluttered. So she could not leave him, for by now he got very used to her velvet wings and the honey from her lips, and wanted them all for himself, alone and only. And her fragrant friends that lived in gardens, forests, and jungles. She remembered the sun, the tree, the sea. He did not want to hear her screams. He placed her atop an even higher shelf and cloaked her in a shroud of dark.
It was really fun, and it was the first time I'd actually gotten to work with Emmer. So, it was the first time we had done partnering, so that was new. And it was really fun being able to work with him, and it was an outside showcase. It was a lot of from the environment that so you really got into character, especially since we were more portraying like the beauty of nature with Doksuni's storytelling. So it was very immersive.
My experience in the Asia Pacific Dance Festival is really incredible. Not only because it taught me how to be a better person and grow as a person, it also opened my eyes to a new culture and learn so much about them, specifically Hawaiian people.
Not only do you get to meet other dancers, you also get to kind of network. You get to know someone from like Hawaii, so you can contact someone in Hawaii. It's really nice to be able to have opportunities to go out and like explore, and that way you get to kind of challenge yourself as well because you want to be able to meet their expectations.
What I appreciated a lot is that, of course, Benilde helped us go there and sponsored and supported this endeavor. What I feel the students were exposed to were very high caliber performances of dance, but more importantly, the types of dance they were doing, they had a lot of pride in what their culture was. Though very contemporary, yet they kept the essence of their culture. So I think they were inspired that you keep the essence of your culture, but you have to still keep your Filipino-ness. I'm hoping that they will be able to practice in their dance also.
Thank you. The commitment to this project was huge. We not only had to share our scholarship, we needed to create a piece, rehearse, make do with the limits of budget and resources, and perform. By the way, the limits were in Hawaii more than in Benilde. And as the adult Benildian, watch over my wards, making sure that they were safe, fed, and happy. In essence, I was their tita yaya. As such, true, though Erica and Emerson were a delight. I was especially tickled when a stranger lady exclaimed that my grandchildren were so talented as they frolicked on Waikiki Beach. I guess I was not just a tita, I was a lola. Grandchildren. Yes. So here they are frolicking in Waikiki, and we are going to see places. I also felt it was important to take them to see a more cultured part of Hawaii. We managed to visit Shangri-La. Yes, in the paradise which is Hawaii, the immense collection of Islamic art of the tobacco heiress Doris Duke, quirky but breathtaking, contentious too because it is rumored that Doris Duke put up the Marcoses in this Shangri-La when they were exiled. There was also a day-long immersion in Polynesian culture. At least a touristic version put together by the Church of Latter-day Saints and Brigham Young University. This brought me to tears, actually, to see pretend Polynesian royalty float on a pretend river. I kept on thinking of Moana, who had the gumption to explore the seas and expand their oceanic empire. I must emphasize that many of the performers at the village were Filipino. After all, the Filipino is also Malayo-Polynesian, and they were well-built, talented, and beautifully brown. And Filipinos have lived in Hawaii for many generations as labor, as professionals, as part of the armed forces. These particular Filipinos in the Polynesian Cultural Center were students at Brigham Young University too. On a work study, they have to give 20 hours a week of their labor in the preservation and celebration of Polynesian culture, as refurbished by the Mormons. Hawaii is a little bit weird and wonderful that way. It is replete with Filipinos, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, and of course native Hawaiians, and Caucasians, and Mormons, and people who like Islamic art. So while we were experiencing the magnanimous multicultural Hawaii, like Verona, our presentation was just a tiny nugget in scope, but definitely mighty in ambition. Befitting the title of Intimacy and Inclusion, we presented a performance, Canvas, that we had previously mounted at Recalibrated exhibition. You may have seen a little bit of it in the videos that we showed in the introduction of this seminar. Originally conceived by and performed by Christine Krame, former chair of the dance department and current artistic director of Benilde Experimental Dance, and Abe Orobia, who is an artist, practitioner, and educator of our Design Foundation department, we reprised this unusual performance at the conference involving the conference delegates. In many of the iterations of Canvas, the audience was asked to actually write or paint on the body of the dancer using lipsticks that we had distributed. And it is in response to a poem that is read out. The audience was permitted to use the dancer's body as a canvas in order to canvas their experience. Here is the poem that was used as springboard for the audience to respond, which I wrote and voiced as the audience members interacted with the dance. Okay, so these are the words of the poems. You should just take a minute, take a few seconds to look at it, because you will hear it in the background in the next clip that I will be showing to you. The inspiration for Canvas came from two sources. A banner by Lyra Garceliano, exhibited at Vargas Museum in 2016, that read, "Dear artist, how much are you worth?" And Maya Angelou's great poem, Phenomenal Woman, in which she glorifies the luscious body parts of women as repositories of care and resilience. Here's an excerpt. This one I will read to you. Pretty woman, wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size, but when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. That's Maya Angelou. I refer to Maya Angelou in Canvas itself, since I have paraphrased her as I critique the commercialization of art, again symbolized by the dancer's body that the audience has used as canvas. And of course, the question now is, can you now sell this, sell her? Can you monetize this very vulnerable experience in which you, as the audience, the consumer, have painted your own expression on your body? The performance was powerful but ephemeral and risky. Who knows what could happen as the audience writes on the body of the dancer? Who knows what the audience will draw? Who knows what irregularity an audience member can inflict? My fear was palpable, even more so when this piece was recreated in the Hawaii conference. Can we show the clip, please? Come on, go. Give them lipstick. Those guys, what about those guys there? Okay. What price is this body? Start now. Start now. What price is this body that you have now stained with beauty? As I ride with the memory of your doing, leading me to live with the scars of your good intentions. I laugh at your boldness, grit my teeth that you have dared, color my dreams with schemes of possibilities. Tell me, would you pay with your life? And how about that wife? Or just a photo to prove that you have participated in art? Show off to your friends, archive in a virtual Netherland. Money talks, walk the walk, I bleed my art. Let us canvas this canvas. Tell me what it's worth. What is the curve of my waist, the flash of my eyes, the undulation of my thighs, the heave of my chest, the pout of my lips, the round of my hips, worth to you? Priceless, I know. Maya Angelou and MasterCard say so. And how about you? You can continue writing as I speak about canvas.
That's a good thing they're not ticklish.
You never know.
The audience participation was demanded upon by canvas, the dancer's bodies drawn upon as the poet asks, what is art worth? The artist is made even more vulnerable, plus body, text, and voice become a synesthetic experience. In canvas, as I extol the artist in my poem, and her dedication, and their dedication to creativity, the audience members create on her. In another iteration of this is the third iteration. As you can see, my students were in their dance gear consisting of dance shorts and a crop top and were part of the presentation of this paper as flesh and blood canvases. I was of course present and knew some other stalwarts in the field, but majority were strangers. Granted, they were educated strangers and renowned artists, but then again, who knows? We all took a risk to have this hold on, I got lost. We all took a risk to have this enclave of scholars, choreographers, and dancers write and or draw on the bodies of these young dancers. In the question and answer portion, the audience did assert that I was careful that I would draw something that I would be respectful to the bodies of these dancers. This is a professor from Hong Kong Performing Arts, John Gonzalez. I imagined intimacy to be something else, but this was of a different kind, another participant said. Emerson himself says, I hope he is here. He might be here. It was confusing to have you write on me, but then I started enjoying how the lipstick drew lines and curves on my body. Erica says, I see dollar signs on my body and now I'm wondering, how much am I really worth? There's a price. Personally, I was watching them and the participants with a hawk's eye as I was reading the poem standing very close to them. There were other Filipino scholars who did also make sure that their young kababayans were protected. Intimacy has risks after all, making oneself and body vulnerable to the gaze, to the critique, and now even the touch of an audience, as many artists do all the time. Doing art is truly a courageous act. This is some of the images that we had in the Hawaii conference. Another important point we shared with the good people of the conference is how Benilde included the deaf in our production of Ding Ang Bato. Intimacy takes on another kind of incarnation. It involves the inclusion of the deaf in a creative project, ironically, a dance musical. Benilde produced Ding Ang Bato, or DAB, in 2018. In the words of DAB's director, Chris Miliado, the unique and groundbreaking aspect of this iteration of the beloved comic book heroine is that the story is told from the point of view of Darna's brother, Ding, who is born deaf, who accompanies her in the journey of empowerment. His world is enriched by the natural elements of enchantment, where he receives the eponymous stone of power and courage, a gift for his sister, which he keeps safe. Our production of Ding Ang Bato, our version of the Darna story, included deaf dancers, actors, and Filipino Sign Language integrated into the dialogue delivery, choreography, gesticulations, and blocking. No interpreter was used during the performance, but indeed, deaf interpreters were present during rehearsals, and deaf dance coaches were always there to help. The non-deaf or the hearing performers had to learn sign language too, over and above their lines and the choreography, etc. Thus, the actors had to be fluent enough and at ease with Filipino Sign Language as much as the deaf performers needed to be fluent in the choreographies and characterization. Whereas their being deaf can isolate them from the world of dance and performance because they simply can't hear the music in its totality, Myra Medrano, their dance coach, asserts that, she's here by the way, they hear the bass or rhythm. They have to count the steps, imitate what the choreographer shows them or what others are doing. Unlike hearing dancers who respond to melody. In fact, Benilde has their own dance company composed of deaf students called Silent Steps. Some of its members were part of DAB who participate actively in Benildian events as well as outside the college. I believe they have joined us today together with our other classmates in their program. Hello, it's Deas and Silent Steps. How are you doing? Myra is there too, interpreter Dea. Hello. Indeed, the rehearsal process became ever more involved and challenging for both hearing and deaf performers. There were times that the deaf performers wanted to quit. At one point, one of the deaf actors who played Dig, the main character, had academic pressures that may have forced him to leave. But since we were committed to an inclusive mission and DAB's artistic vision, we adjusted our rehearsal schedules to accommodate these academic demands. As the artistic producer of DAB, I insisted that no matter what, we are not replacing any of the deaf performers. If the pressure was too much, whether because they were differently abled or had academic pressures, the production would adjust. This is actually not the standard operating procedures of a theatrical production, mind you. Production schedule is set, everyone adjusts. You can't come to rehearsals? Ha! You're out. But given these extraordinary circumstances, and that this was a college production, an extraordinary college production, where the stakes are rather different than a commercial one, we were permitted to play and make up procedures as we went along to fit the utopian mission of inclusion. The student performers repeatedly expressed in interviews and in conversation that the process of learning their lines, singing, dancing, emoting, as well as learning sign language was challenging but fruitful. Friendships were established and indeed a barrier broken down between the deaf and the hearing. Can we see the clip, please? Okay, so you heard it from them or saw it from them. As part of the prologue to the production, audience members were invited to come up on stage to learn some sign language. The staging of DAB was proscenium, but the separation of audience was repeatedly sutured with audience participation, actors commenting to the audience, and performers encouraging the audience to gesticulate the Dharna hand gesture with them. Even in our interviews with CNN or the BBC and in the short PSAs that you just saw that the deaf performers participated in, we encourage the virtual universe and the hosts to gesture Dharna flying off. Here is the hand gesture as captured by the poster as it is used in Filipino Sign Language. As you can see, this project was tremendous, and we shared it in Hawaii. Perhaps we can think about a new way of dancing. I had even suggested, how about dancing without music at all? Perhaps we introduced a new way of thinking about the deaf and how to relate to them. I know that Ding ang Bato changed us. I must also say that Rex Ravelo, the son of Mars Ravelo, who created Dharna, having Ding as deaf very well with the family ethos since one of the younger family members is deaf. It seemed like karma, poetic justice, that our Ding was deaf. You know, I'm thinking perhaps we should all do this gesture of flight together, people. Perhaps we can invoke the magical forces to make us fly again very soon to far off places so that we can share our knowledge, our heart, and ourselves. What do you say, people? Maybe if we keep on doing this, we won't be in quarantine long and we can fly to other places. You know, I just thought of something. Maybe there is a different magic after all. Dea, I just thought of it now. Sorry. Maybe there is magic after all. We are here on this platform together, even if we are not physically together. We have people from the US, London, Melbourne, Nigeria, I believe, Cebu, Cainta, Pasig, Makati, gathering together today, permitting me to share with you our scholaristry in the before times when we could fly. But I can share it with you in this platform. Maybe this is another kind of magic that is happening. So let's take this time now to use this platform for your questions, for your comments, your ideas. Let's talk. Thank you. Let's open the floor with questions, comments. You can use the chat box. You can raise your hand. Here I can see people saying, thank you, Stella Go, for coming. She's congratulating this interesting, engaging scholaristry. Hey, scholaristry. I should at least pronounce it properly, right? Thank you, Stella, for coming. Thank you, Dina Fabian. She says she's a big fan. Thank you. Thank you. Henrietta is also here. Thank you, Henry.
Okay, Myra signing. Hello.
Yes.
So about your presentation. Sorry, again, I just fixed it to the speaker's view. I was honestly blown away with your presentation and also different stories that you shared with us. I really admired all your sharing. And there's one thing that struck me most. The one where your story about arena in Greece. Is that it?
The arena in Verona.
Yeah, in Verona. It was a very good place, and it can contain a lot of people. And I saw that the stage is. How do they do it? Because I think the stage is small, and if it's really far, can they still see it?
That is the beauty of Roman architecture. Actually, the acoustics are fantastic, and the performances could happen there because of the raked seats. And what I saw anyway was a dance performance, so not so much to hear, except for the music. And of course, in modern times, there's a lot of wizardry that happens, music wizardry that happens, electronic wizardry that happens. But back in the day, meaning the first century and onwards, the acoustics of the place was, they were able to do their performances because of the acoustics of the place. and also because of the kind of costuming and masks they wore. So they could project. And anyway, a lot of Roman performance was very physical. Anyway, very physical. So, though there were plays that happened also.
Oh, that's nice. Wow, that's really wonderful.
There's a question here from Lori Dumaligan. What do you miss most about as a traveling artist? You know what I miss most? It's also very hard to travel because you have to get used to a new place. There's baggage, luggage. You have to deal with immigration, blah blah blah, right? If they don't speak English, it's really a mess. But what I do miss is that because of those things, because you're out of your comfort zone, you begin to really realize what kind of person you are and what you can do and who you can talk to and make friends with. Um, how much you're willing to take a risk. There are many times in Venice and Verona, I was alone most of the time. And I had dinners with people that I met on the way. They were also lonely or not. They had families. I joined them. And we ate together and talked. So you talk to people. You come out of yourself and you start experiencing what are other possibilities when you travel, which I found very exciting and interesting. Did I answer your question? Warmest greetings from the School of Diplomacy and Governance. Thank you. That's Desi Marie Sapnit. Thank you.
Sunita.
Yes.
I have a question.
Hi, Henry.
Hello. I have a question from the alumni point of view.
Yes.
In your travels, were you able to collaborate Benilde with the other LaSalle schools, like for example in Italy or in but basically like in Rome and so forth? Was there any collaboration by Benilde? Because the schools that I attended were really great. I really was so impressed with Benilde. I love the Hawaii performance, and congratulations to you and the whole Benilde. No, like I told you, if Benilde was open during our time, I would have studied in Benilde. No, but I went to LaSalle TAF at that time. It was the 80s. So
Yes.
my question is, have there been any attempt to get the other LaSalle schools in the world with Benilde with regard to the performing arts?
Well, what a great idea, Henry. Let's do something together. That's a great idea. We could do something together. It just so happens that these places, because I know that we have a very strong presence, LaSallian presence in Rome, right? Yes, we can. We absolutely should do something together, Henry. And I know you're also very well connected with them. By the way, people, just so you know that Henry and I were in the DLSU Dramatics Guild together. So we know each other a long time, and we've worked together on many things theatrical and beautiful. And yes, he's a very active member of the alumni association. Let's do something.
Yeah, so maybe when all the vaccines are out and travel is again allowed, I think it's a nice way to collaborate and really make our presence felt. In 2011, all those schools have seen Benilde. They were all here. Practically 150 delegates from all over the world were here, and they showed. We toured them in Benilde. We toured them in the hotels, and they were all quite impressed with what the performances that was done. No? So I think it's a great idea that we can collaborate with them. Okay, congrats again.
Thank you so much, Henry. The thing is that let's not wait to travel. let's travel through Zoom, through these platforms. Maybe we can already set up a
Yeah,
meeting.
that's a good idea. Sige.
Okay, there's a question here that I want to answer from my friend Nina Makaray Gamboa. Why did I call tall tales when everything about my experience as a scholartist is genuine and true? Well, the thing is that I think I kind of implied it a little bit. I go to a place like Verona where Roberto Bolle performs in this grand arena. My conference was so small. But when I tell you I went to Verona and I performed, it sounds great, doesn't it? I did perform in Verona, but then my own realization is that what was that compared to the arena? So it was I found parallels in order to comfort myself with the Juliet balcony and with the opera in a teacup. That it was not so small pala. It was not so tall a tale to tell. But I feel how what's the closest thing to say an imposter syndrome sometimes. Like, okay, I'm doing all these things, but to what scale? We were in the University of Hawaii. We presented these grand ideas, but the room was so small. We only had about 20 people, for example. But we told the tale, right? We danced in the promenade of University of Hawaii. Our audience was small, but our experience of it was huge. So there was this contrast kept on coming to my mind, and always that kind of something. Have we done enough? Is it too much? Are we talking too much, or is it too little, or what? And of course, that's what keeps artists also going. The missing piece, like there's something. Are we too small? Should we become larger? What tale do we tell? How do we spin this so that it sounds better? Are we spinning it to make it sound better? Things like that. So it's a little bit, how should I say, complicated psychologically. So that's why I named it that. Because I was finding some things that I was saying, and then the reality, and then the realization that, oh, it's not that small pala. So it's also the tales you tell yourself, right? Sophia has a question. Sophia Isabel Sueybagio. About My Eyes Adore You, that piece. She wants to know, what were the majority of the feedback? Were people crying, or were there violent reactions? Well, that's an interesting question you ask. When I did this piece in many places, I did it about in 3 or 4 places. When I did it first in New York, in Brooklyn, there was a young woman who did cry when I told her that she was beautiful because she thought she was fat. She had love handles now. So I said, kaya na nga, it's called love handles, love kasi. So people can handle. No? So she was crying because she loved it. She loved that explanation. There were no violent reactions, but there were some reactions that were aloof. Like if I would approach them and say, my eyes adore you, they would say, yeah, thanks, and walk away. They didn't want to hear anything. In Manila, when I performed it at Altromundo Gallery, together with the exhibition, people were sitting around and were very warm and welcoming. And so was in Verona. But as I said, there was 1 or 2 women in Verona who were very touched by being reassured that they were beautiful. As I said, one of them treated me out to dinner. So it was really fun. There are many reactions, but the reactions became difficult for me when I really could not find any redeeming feature. So there was this guy who did come to me, and his teeth were all like yellow and rotting, and I had to find a way of explaining to him, not that I could not say naman a lie that his teeth were beautiful, because they were not. What I ended up doing was giving him advice. Like, these things can be fixed. You have a beautiful smile. You have a lovely personality. You know, we want to see your smile. Better go to the dentist. Brush your teeth, for crying out loud, you know, things like that. So it became a challenge sometimes. So the reactions were varied and many. There were many possibilities. As I said, some were aloof. Some just walked by. They didn't even look at me. Some of them were nice. They said, you know, my eyes adore you. You are beautiful to me. They would say it back. You also, you're so beautiful. I said, thank you. I accepted na lang the compliment. Some of them stopped, some of them did not stop. Okay, so let me see. Okay, there are more questions here. From Kyle. Is there anything that keeps us socially intimate in times where we are obliged to be physically distant? That is art. The beauty of these talks, it gives us the opportunity to share an in-depth view from the lens of the artist. Charot. Kylie, how philosophical naman you are, Kylie. Thank you. Is there anything that keeps us socially intimate in times where we are obliged to be physically? Yeah, that is art. You're right. And as I said, as I was looking at the Dharna gesture, and when I was writing this piece, and I was lamenting that I'm not traveling, and then here I am talking to you guys. I said, it's not a kind of travel, but there's a kind of intimacy. There's a kind of sharing, right? I'm still able to do it. We're still able to do something. So let's hold on to it. Like when we're doing this Zoom gathering, how do we increase intimacy? By reacting. Maybe we have to be more expressive. Maybe we need to do thumbs up, clap, you know, smile, show our faces, chat. Yes, yes, thank you, Kyle. So that people will know that we are reacting, because this is what we have for now. It's not forever, but we have this for now. How can we continue to, this is for my sister, who, by the way, again agreed last minute to do her part in the joke. How can we continue to have the mindset of a traveling scholarist even with the pandemic restrictions? I just answered your question a little bit, Suj, diba? So let's do this. We'll do a TikTok together. Let's go on YouTube. Let's call up people. Let's call up people. Let's write them emails. Let's communicate. We can still do that. Let's watch travel videos, you know. Let's read up on places that we can go to. Let's make friends with people abroad, because people also need relationship, right? Let's see, any more questions? Attend international conferences online. That's right, Sujata, correct. Anybody else? Kyle has threatened to sing the Macbeth musical to me. Okay, Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. How are you, darling? I'm curious about your experience in the Polynesian village, given that it was put together by Mormon students and you say that they were mostly Filipino dancers. How does that change the message? It's an interesting question. I did not know that I was going to cry seeing the performances. I was, of course, a little bit skeptical, but I was curious to see. I had seen this before about 10, 20 years ago when I visited Hawaii, and I wanted to see how they improved it. Production value-wise, fantastic, great. There is a portion where you can choose to go to the chapel of the Latter-day Saints and go to Brigham Young University to look around, and they'll tell you about Mormonism. You choose that. They don't force it on you. The students who were there, they were not very clear whether they were Mormons, but they were getting a scholarship to be involved in this Polynesian village. Okay. Many of them were Filipinos, but also many of them were from the other Polynesian islands in the Pacific who had gone there for their education. As I said, I don't know how many of them were actual Mormons. They were not clear about it, but at least for that time, while they were studying in Brigham Young, they were, and they were doing the job of the Polynesian village, amongst other things, which I found it very interesting. How did it change the message? Of course, it was very fun and family themed. Okay, so all the other kinds of rituals and ceremonies that were not very Christian were not displayed. So the beauty of the costumes, the dancing, the singing, some enjoyable parts, they were there. And realistically, a lot of them dressed less. A lot of the women dressed less than what they showed there. So there was modesty also, because that was required by Mormonism. So these kinds of things were changed in the presentation. A very important thing also changed, and a lot of Polynesian cultures, because there's not only just one Polynesian. There's the people of Togo, the people of this island and that island. They're warring. They're in history. They have warred with each other, but not in their performance. In their performance, they all came together as one. Let's all come together and unite rather than fight each other. That they did not show the hostilities between the warring islands. That they didn't show. So I thought those were the different things. And anyway, when you're trying to enjoy yourself in a Polynesian village, you don't want to see war. You want to see maybe some war, but afterwards there's reconciliation. Cecil Sison, hello, how are you? I didn't catch most of your talk, the portions definitely, because they were unique experiences, something that very few people are able to do. That's true. That's true. I was also like a bit, I myself was a little bit befuddled by that Shangri-La experience, that in the midst of all this beauty, this natural beauty, there's this Doris Duke Foundation of Islamic Art. Of course, there's a lot of appropriation. I mean, she had money to go to Morocco, to Turkey, to Iran, to gather these things and rebuild them in her mansion. So, this is a good use of money, I guess. So there's a very interesting, a little bit cognitively dissonant experience to see so much Islamic art in Hawaii. So, yes, Sujata, if there's time, maybe you could share about Malta and the connection to Darna. That will be for Traveling Scholarist Part 3, which will happen probably in May or June, okay? So you better come. Maybe I'll make you Darna. Any other questions, people? Any other insights? Okay. Very exciting. How do you suggest this reaches more people? Oh, that's Cecil Sison's question. How do these unique experiences, how do I suggest this reaches more people? You see, the curiosity has to come from both sides. I'm happy to share, and the internet is replete with YouTubes about these things. Netflix is full of travel shows. There's so many things that one can see unusually. You also have to have a curiosity. I have to confess to you something, people. I did whatever I wanted to do in Venice. I wanted to go to the Biennale. Yes. I wanted to watch that opera. Yes. I wanted to go see Murano glass making. I did that. But please, I confess to you, all 50 of you, 50 plus of you, of all things I did not do in Venice is go on a gondola ride. The shame, right? So I wasn't able to do that because on the day that I wanted to go on a gondola ride, imagine no gondola in Venice. It rained. The waters were turbulent and there wasn't time. And of course, the gondolier said, cannot be, we cannot take you. Okay. And the next day I had to go to Verona to present my presentation. So there's a reason for me to go to Venice. What do you think? For a gondola ride, right? Oh, Desi Marie Sapnit says it's not worth it really. We'll see if there's a romantic situation. Desi naman. There might be a romantic situation where I need to be in a gondola ride with some champagne. Huh. Any other questions? Any other ideas? What would you like to share? Anybody from SDEAS or Silent Steps? Do you want to say anything?
In preparing for an international journey, okay. Do you have a preparation for an international journey this year? Is there any? Or do you have any conferences to attend via Zoom?
There are always, well, you know, I had a wonderful conference. I have attended and been participating in certain conferences via Zoom. One was based in New Zealand. I was a moderator for a panel, discussion on curating performances. I have attended a talk which was based in New York, which involved the people like Gloria Steinem and Julie Taymor, talking about their film about Gloria Steinem. And I try to attend different kinds of performances and other conferences on Zoom so that I can learn more about what's happening. There are festivals, film festivals, there are book launches, there are a lot of things that one can attend. And that. My schedule, per, I have to, none of my, are my bosses here? I guess most of them are. My schedule permits me to travel through my theater courses because I'm learning about Rome and Italy, Rome and France and Spain. I learned so much about Asia because I have to teach my students also, right? And recuperating the knowledge that I had, you know, and teaching that. So I am traveling that way. And of course, these webinars. So this is, by the way, not the only one we're doing. We're doing another one on February 23. We're going to be interviewing and speaking to Brother Dodo, our brother president. And we're going to talk to him not as president, but as an artist, because he's an artist. So we want to talk to him more about what it means to be an artist and what he's done. So you're going to be seeing some of his beautiful works and listening to him speak, not as an administrator, but as a person who draws and paints. Interesting, no? He agreed. He was excited. He's excited to do that. So please join us. Prem, is this my Uncle Prem?
Yeah, it's me.
Hi, Uncle. That's my Uncle Prem from London. How are you doing?
I'm all right.
What a pleasant surprise. You have a question. Following on from Cohen's year, here's one from Rumi. Don't turn away from the wound and the light will shine through. Thank you, Uncle. That's beautiful. And Rumi is also one of my favorite poets. Thank you. Don't turn away from the wound and the light will shine through. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for attending. It's always nice when your family and friends attend. And everybody else, of course. Thank you so much. Any more questions? You can, of course, if you cannot think of questions now, please feel free to messenger me or or direct message me. I'll be happy to elaborate on uh, on certain points. Cheng is reminding everybody to please answer the feedback form. Uh, she's put the link on the chat. Another from my sister Sujata. Do your travels give you a different view of where you're from? That's a good question, and we've discussed this many times. I don't know if you know people that, I am of Indian origin, but born and bred in the Philippines. And I spent over 30 years of my life in the United States, and am now back here. I am a US citizen. Where's my home? Of Indian origin, and yet my people, my father and mother, are exiles because they left their homeland Sindh, which is now in Pakistan, when India was partitioned into Pakistan and India. They left and they find themselves in different parts of the world. So the idea of where I'm from is really rather complex and has caused some fusions inside me. Salman Rushdie has a term for it. It's called the migrant sensibility. So I identify with that because I feel I belong there, I belong here, and I don't belong anywhere. I'm a New Yorker, a San Francisco person. I'm Indian, but which part of India? I'm from Manila, born and bred, but Manila has changed so much from what I grew up with. Relationships are there which help ground me. Memories of my life abroad ground me. I still have friends there. Some of them have even attended this talk. So they're really my friends. So I'm thinking, where am I from? And why is it an important question? Is it an important question? So I'd rather be a traveling scholarist. What do you think? So at least you can go here, there, everywhere and discover the world. Why does it have to be one place? Why? Here, this is the question. Oh yes, Jennifer asked a question about Juliet. Yes, Desi Marie, that's the good word. Global citizen with a migrant sensibility who's a traveling scholarist. Okay, I have an identity. Thank you, Desi Marie. Did I answer Jennifer's question about why do you think Juliet's story touched so many cultures? Jennifer, it's Romeo and Juliet, two young people who fall in love, but they're not allowed to think about that story. They're not allowed to. Their parents are fighting over trivial, feudal things, bloody things. These two love each other, even if they are young, but they love each other. And what's causing them not to be together is not even their hatred of each other. It's just their name, right? What's in the name? And that's the appeal of the story is, of course, very strong in that. Plus, naku, heartbreak, they die. And how do they die? By accident, because they drank the poison, right? They think the other died, that one died, I should die. How can I live without my love? It's so romantic and so tragic. And whose fault it is? The parents who hold on to hate. So that's the appeal of Romeo and Juliet. So they built a balcony there in Verona so that you can recreate that story, though it's an English story after all, based in Verona. And so people want to take a picture, kunyari the Romeo and Juliet in the balcony. That's her bed she slept on, but she's not a real character. Okay? So, but we like to live that fantasy, that romantic fantasy. Okay, I think we have a few seconds more. Timothy Dakanay, thank you. How confident are you of travel after this pandemic? The places are open, flights are going, and then flights are stopping. You're not allowed to return. So I have to be cautious a little bit about where to go. I mean, at one point, Dubai was open to us. We can't go now. There are places in the Philippines that we can go to. So let's start there with protocols and safety. How confident am I? You know, I'm already experiencing cabin fever, Timothy Dakanay, so we shall see. Maybe I'll take a little bit of a risk with very many protocols and go to Palawan or Balesin or a swimming pool or a beach somewhere. Sujata Mukhi is sharing a quote from T.S. Eliot. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sujata. I think we should end on that note. And I'd like to thank all of you for spending your afternoon with me and sharing with me your insights and your questions and permitting me to speak to you and share with you what we in Benilde do when we travel. Let's continue to talk and don't feel at all that one cannot travel because we always have our imagination. We have books, right, Jennifer and Cecil and Nina? We have books that take us everywhere. And we have the magic of the internet, okay? Which we can absolutely use in order to go places. And let's not be too scared because we also need to go out and have fresh air and sunshine. And if we can go to the beach once in a while, we should do that and eat out with friends because we are social beings. We need to do that, but with care, absolutely with care. Okay, thank you, Patrick, Eric. Hannah, thank you for being touched. Okay. Diana, Fabian, everyone again, Cheng is reminding you to please write in the feedback form. And as I said, I'm open to talking more. Just send me a direct message. I'm on Messenger. Okay. So I'd like to thank, of course, Magda, my associate dean for Benilde's Arts and Culture Cluster. And of course, Shema, Cheng, Dea, Jello, who helped put this together. Thank you so much. I forget the name of the other interpreter, but thank you too, Mr. Interpreter. And thank you all for coming and spending time with me. Magda, do you want to say anything else to close the event? Do we have a poster of our next program?
Yes, actually. So we would like to invite Shema. Do you have it? Like the posters? Okay, so we would like to invite everyone in our upcoming webinars. So we have the figuras miniaturas of the production design program. So this is a virtual exhibition on the evolution of Filipiniana from pre-colonial period until the turn of the century. So that's on Feb 11 at 2 p.m. And then for the dance program, we have Movement Connection, an expressive experience on wellness. So that's going to be on Feb 11 at 2 p.m. And then another Back Talks 2021 on Feb 23, 3 p.m. It's by our, well, Doc Suni will be our moderator, but it will be featuring our president, Brother Dodo Fernandez. So they will be talking about his artistic works, his creative process, and contemplations on art and its crucial role in the transformative education and society. So for this month also, we have Art in the Park Online 2021. This is being led by our Arts Management Program. So I hope everyone who's here right now will be able to join us in our future webinars. We're all looking forward to seeing you again. So before we end, Doc Suni, can we have a photo?
Oh, sure. Yes, that's right. That's all. Can everybody turn on their video so we can? That's what we want, right? With everybody. Yes, all those who want to be part, of course. Wait, I'll try to put the background, the beautiful background of that.
And also, please follow us, our Benilde Arts and Culture Cluster on Facebook for all the events that we will be having in the future. Thank you. Cheng, are you ready? Who's going to take the photo? The Chema.
Shema po.
Okay.
Wait, please.
Please, Max, you can po.
Who?
We have 3 slides.
Okay.
Okay, wait a minute because my virtual background is
Okay, we have 3 slides, so please just keep on smiling. Shema will be counting if she's ready to take our photo. Shem, just let us know.
Ready, miss? Smile. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we would like to thank everyone for coming here in our webinar. Doc Suni, thank you so much. This is such a wonderful webinar and
thank you.
Very educational and very inspiring for all of us. We hope to see everyone again in our webinars the next following week. So thank you and have a good afternoon.
Yes, and I also wanted to thank my sister for joining me last minute. Thank you, Suj.
Thank you, Sujata.
Thank you, all my friends, my new friends, old friends, and all of you who bore with us. You all should leave now.
Thank you, Doc Suni.
I've been thinking that lately.